5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thunderbirds are go.
You know what? Not bad for 23 years old. This is the very same model that I made when I was a child with my mum, and most of my family in fact, watching Blue Peter back in the 90s. And it turns out we weren't the only ones keen on making our own adventures for international rescue.
We knew that there were in the 60s these 3 mini albums, 3 audio stories, specially recorded. They weren't soundtracks from actual episodes, they were specific, unique stories for people to listen to at home. And we thought, wouldn't it be interesting to take those recordings, the last source of the voices as they were in the 1960s, rebuild the puppets and the sets, and film them to make something that looked like 3 episodes that you'd never seen before.
You were a fan of Thunderbirds before you got involved in this?
Yeah, I think that was probably when I was 6 years old. That was what really fired up my kind of passion for film and TV. And then, just as I grew up, I'd revisit it every now and then, and really be amazed by how well made it is, and especially the music, the special effects, and I think the scripts are a lot of fun as well. It's really good to just kind of go back to it every now and then. And when I started to study film as well, you go back and think, it is wonderfully made. It is, they are like mini films.
Thunderbirds and Jerry and Sylvia's work has had a huge influence on my life. I loved it as a child, and it's one of those shows that I just, even as a kid, found technically fascinating to look at. Because there is nothing else like it. Whilst everyone else was out discovering girls, I was writing to the people who made these shows, asking, how was it done? And I got this crash course in how to make films, which I didn't realise that at that point, as the world was changing and everything was going digital, that they gave me an amazing course in how to make films, from 20 years ago, which weirdly now has come full circle, because a lot of what they taught me, I was able to employ that knowledge in making these new episodes.
I mainly dealt with making the puppets look good, so a lot of hair tweaking, a lot of wig sort of dressing, a lot of costuming, making them either dirty or clean depending on the scenes, and then a lot of stringing. I strung the puppets a lot.
So on the new episodes, because we were such a small crew, we all kind of did a bit of everything. So I kind of started off as a production assistant, edited the 2nd episode, assistant directed the 3rd episode, and then did lip syncing, puppet maintenance, art department assistants, graphic design. We all did a bit of everything, which is why it was such a good team, I think, because everyone was able to learn how to do everything, which made it really enjoyable.
Occasionally I would be the floor puppeteer, so that's when you sort of lie on your belly and just make sure that the puppet is turning right, or that it's standing straight, or that it's sitting right. Occasionally I would either be also Penny's hands, or on 2 occasions Penny's feet.
So technically you were an actress in it as well?
Yes, that's always nice.
I was Parker's legs in the Stately Homes Robbery, so the final episode we did. There's a shot where Lady Penelope and Parker are walking past one of the walls, and I was the only person who had boots just in real life that kind of similarly matched what Parker was wearing, so I had to go in and do that, which was very cool.
It's always very weird to see your feet on TV, and I won't get over that. Like when in one scene they're in a boot, and that's fine, but the other scene it's just my feet, my naked feet with some makeup on them to make them look bruised. So it's just weird.
So the actual episodes were shot on the Slough Trading Estate where the originals were shot. What was that like? Because I can imagine that being in a warehouse for that amount of time, probably cold, very difficult.
Freezing. It was freezing, and you can see the seasons pass through the photos or the behind the scenes footage. At the beginning, we're sort of wearing t-shirts and jeans, and the more sort of the cooler it gets, the more layers we have. There's a photo of me where I've just got my winter boots on, 2 jumpers, 2 scarves, my hat, and sort of mittens. So I look great. It was great for fashion. Really. On the other hand, in terms of space, we could have had, you know, a more traditional studio. But in terms of space, that was great, because we could have people working on one end of the warehouse and we'd be filming on the other side. So, and we did have a little office for people to actually edit in, or you know, just sit in and take a coffee. So that was lovely.
So during the production, I gather there were some instances where you couldn't quite do things the way they were done back in the 60s for various reasons. Can you give me an example of one of the things that you had to change?
Example of something in the 1960s, you know, the lip sync was done by conducting the electrical pulse through the puppet's wires down into the head, which then activate the solenoid and the electromagnet. But because the puppet wire is no longer being manufactured, it hasn't been made since the 80s at the latest, we weren't able to do that, because the more they send the pulse down the wire, the more brittle it becomes, and then it's prone to snapping. And when we don't have a lot of the wire, you know, we have to conserve it as much as we can. So we send the pulse up a wire through the puppet's legs, and then it activates in the same way as it goes up the neck and then back into the head. They used to dress the set with asbestos by accident, apparently, but it was only later on they found out, you know, that was...
And obviously you didn't do that.
No. We've
moved on from that a little.
Health and safety's gone a little bit further since then, yeah.
Lots of people said, oh, you could never do it again. Those techniques are dead, the knowledge doesn't exist, it would be too expensive. And I thought, no, I'd really like to show it could be done. And we got quite a bit of the way there, not quite perfect, but while we were making it, which in itself was a very frustrating process, which is something that the original team, you know, talk about. These puppets to work with, they are fascinating, they're lovely to look at, and my God, are they irritating. You set up and it's filming a scene with these puppets, all the models. It's like getting multiple plates spinning, and at the point that you've got all 500 plates spinning, that the camera is in position, you've got the right lens on, the camera movements are worked out, the puppeteers know what they're doing, the lights are on, and everything's ready, and you say turn over, action, and you know, pop, there goes a string, and the puppet just slumps forward like that.
The massive explosions were really fun. With an explosion, of course, you only have the one, especially if you're blowing up something that's taken someone weeks to make, which was the case with Stately Home Robberies. At the very beginning, there's this massive mansion that's being blown up. And it took David Tremont weeks to make. He was squirreling away in the corner, sort of drawing and carving individual bricks. And it took him forever. And it was this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful model that, you know, we got to enjoy a few days before, well, demolition was scheduled. We had to actually, most of us had to leave the building because it was going to be such a massive sound that we only had so many ear covers. And so I didn't actually see it live, I heard it from outside. And it was exciting and it sounded very impressive.
I mean, Thunderbirds is actually back now in the form of Thunderbirds Are Go, which is done with a mixture of models and CGI, and it's made with a lot of love, and you know, it's got a whole new audience of children interested in Thunderbirds, and then they're discovering the original, and that's, you know, that is terrific. But we still think that there's no reason just because something is old that it should, you know, it should fade from view. That it's perfectly possible. You know, lots of franchises have multiple versions that all exist in, you know, in harmony. I mean, how many different versions of Batman are there? I think the original, you know, still has a potential new audience out there, as it has in the. I mean, the only way to find out with these things is to, you know, is to put it out and try it. I think there's a lot of life in the series yet, but we shall see.